funded place on the development pathway to this national governing body. An athlete has to cover certain items such as committing to an annual training programme agreed with the national governing body, and that means 6 training sessions a week, of which 4 must be ice-based, attending talent camps, maintaining a training log, be coached by the relevant levels coach. And I have to say, above all, meets the minimum education requirements of TAS, that is the normal entry requirements for any UK university. And as a result of the TAS process over the last 3 years, the volume of senior women achieving qualifying time for world-class support funding has tripled. It's been the national governing body target that 8 to 10 TAS athletes would attend these games in HARBIN. And indeed, we have 9 skaters named in the team. Further data which demonstrates the value of this scheme: in 1997 we had no winter universiade team. In 2007 we fielded a team of 51 athletes and won 1 medal. By 2009 we have a team of 77 athletes, of which 44 are TAS athletes. At the other end of the spectrum, there are challenges in participation too. In my introduction, I alluded to the notion that sports participation may be perceived as a metaphor for youth development. In the UK, both socially and through the driver which London 2012 is now giving us, this is starting to sharpen the edges of a dichotomy which some of us acknowledge, but for which little direct evidence exists. We know sport appears to work as a means of youth development, but where's the proof? From a cultural point of view, sports seen as fun, recreational, something to do with play in our early years, part of our leisure time, often as spectators. Above all, it's more often than not distinct from much of the more serious aspects of society, like poverty, inequity, drugs, alcohol abuse, street violence, academic failure, homelessness, and unemployment. It's hard to prove that those skills and values which are quoted previously above in relation to the performance end of the youth development spectrum translate into workplace and life skills or benefits. So things like discipline, respect, honesty, leadership skills. Does team captaincy actually translate into leadership in the boardroom? Does the discipline of sport training and competition translate into improving academic achievement or reduced unemployment? At one end of the spectrum, sport is probably a little more than an alternative occupation for recreation purposes, keeping kids off the streets. But at the most enriching end of the spectrum, you see the sporting experience integrated with the acquisition of these skills to the benefit of all engaged in the activity. And by this I mean that both the active participants in the sport activity and the individuals organising or managing that experience are allowed to gain from the process, along with the opportunity provider, which may be a school, a club, an event provider. Volunteering has a powerful role to play in meeting priorities for higher education in the UK, but its impact and potential is still not widely recognised, especially in the arena of public engagement in higher education and skills development. Since 2002, an excellent non-sport specific student volunteering infrastructure has been built, bringing benefits to students, universities, communities and wider society, driven by seed funding from the Higher Education Funding Council, and based on the rationale of benefits to teaching enhancement and student success. And we're now at the point where that funding may cease and individual higher education institutions need to make the decision to continue to support this work through their core grant in 2009. In terms of the contribution of volunteering schemes, there are 4 key areas we believe. Firstly, widening access. Volunteering is a key mechanism for widening participation. By its very nature, it increases the interaction between institutions and the most disadvantaged local communities. Many higher education volunteering projects currently run schools mentoring schemes, and many support student and staff volunteering as governors or other roles within schools. Others, such as the University of Manchester, have established formal leadership programmes, which allow the student to gain a small number of credit points toward their degree through completion of learning around citizenship skills and completion of volunteering hours associated with that learning. Additionally, we have a sport volunteering scheme, which is separate to this, which I'll just comment on a bit later. Secondly, volunteering has been shown to improve recruitment and retention, in part because it greatly enhances the broader student experience. However, volunteering can also improve retention by enhancing the quality of learning and teaching, particularly through enabling students to contextualise their studies. Employability. Volunteering provides enhanced skills development, evidence of relevant experience for CVs, application forms and interviews, a clearer idea of future career direction and available opportunities, links with future employers. And enhancing the student experience. Volunteering can give students a positive sense of identity by being engaged with a meaningful activity which is part of their overall student experience. Students who are part of their student volunteering group are generally more likely to play a role contributing to university life, such as in student staff liaison groups. The University of Manchester Sport Volunteering Scheme. I'm going to give you a quick overview, which my department has been running for 7 years. It's managed by a single member of my staff, the Sport Development Officer, on a budget of about £60,000 a year, including that person's salary. But as you can see from some of the detail on the screen, we're leveraging a large number of partnership opportunities, which in community engagement terms are absolutely priceless. We enrol 100 students on the scheme each year, and you see there are a small number of staff there too, with about 20 to 25% retaining to support in their second year at university. We need to do this to provide a certain amount of mentoring to more senior volunteers. Our students are able to gain certain qualifications through the scheme, in addition to the various skills which they bring to the scheme through their degree course content. All are CRB or Criminal Records Bureau checked and receive training in safe working with children. The motivation for joining the scheme? It actually requires minimal material reward, we find, with the longer-term work skills benefits and enjoyment being sufficient reward. Opportunities set around being associated with 2012 are also a driver at present. The benefits for student, institution and community are, as you see, a significant growth in partnership working through our network of opportunities we've built up over years. As you can see, our output is quite high considering the investment, with us impacting on 4,500 other young people. So in terms of values and knowledge exchange, we're starting to create a circle of relationships which we hope will widen the influence and impact of our outreach for generations to come. Two of our students this year have additionally taken on the work of designing and producing a bi-monthly e-newsletter. This is just an example of an article about one of the members of staff on the scheme. Not sure if you can read that from where you're sitting. You'll also note that we've got something called the purple bug, something we're using here in the lower half of the page. This is part of our marketing campaign across sport and the university. The bug's an imaginary character who lives through something called Facebook, which is a social network with which some of you or the younger members in the audience may be familiar, but who is the identity link for being associated with sport in the university. I'm just quickly going to show you a couple of slides set around the student experience of the scheme this last year. This first example just shows the sporting and educational benefits to both volunteer and pupils, the opportunity to gain teaching, coaching qualifications, and the interpersonal skills volunteer may gain from the programme. The second example demonstrates the perceived personal benefits to volunteer gains. So we have a working relationship with one of the city's iconic football clubs and an opportunity to use sport as a means of delivering certain messages around what is or is not acceptable within society. So you'll see here this lab has been helping out with issues around racism in the city of Manchester, so it does exist. We'll get a copy of these later. And this is what we're already doing, making a difference. So what's in it for PSU? My last three slides are more about infusing those here about the fantastic position we are within PSU, to further extend the spectrum of opportunities which extend across performance and participation, either through its events and associated opportunities, or the influence it can exert through the staging of major international events. Depending on where one wishes to launch an intervention, PISU can be part of the pathway or indeed the pinnacle of a range of forms of youth development. For some of our competing athletes this week, these games are the pinnacle of their career in sport. For many, this is just a pathway to Olympic and full international success. With the right approach, their journey can be made to encompass significant personal development, which in time can be passed on to others. PISU is in a unique position to carry out research that can quantify and demonstrate to higher education authorities, even governments, through its own activity streams alone, the potential to engage and develop young people for the benefit of society at world and local level is having an impact. Seminars alongside championships, exchange of volunteers across championships and games with applied learning opportunities can deliver a game with which private and commercial partners will wish to become associated. The reason why? Well, I too think the sport education mix carries the right sort of participants with the right values, and many of the tools to make a difference. These were merely personal comments and ideas, few of which we've begun to address in PISU. We're starting to develop a continental framework for communication and development. When this matures enough, and we're probably talking 5 to 10 years' time, we will be able to use the sport education dynamic evidence to a very small extent through my 2 examples in this presentation to deliver meaningful social change. I think I'm ever the optimist. I believe that under certain circumstances, inter- and intra-continental cooperation can, for example, deliver volunteer exchange opportunities within 4 years if PISU were to choose to develop a framework for a more formalised programme. We have the beginnings of this scheme in Europe, in Listen. Through our University Island Championships bidding process, we have a huge opportunity to develop legacy which assures youth development programmes regionally and locally through partnership between PISU and host countries and cities. So what can we all do going forward? Well, we've got a series of major international exchange opportunities in which we can engage our young people more closely in expressing their views, in developing their learning through forums and through partnership and exchange. I believe the next generation is our common thread. We should listen to them, use them to advise on prioritising next steps, and engage them as our ambassadors in delivering experiential learning through the medium of sport. Thank you very much.